Hey everybody, it's Aaron here with Robert, and welcome to Get Your Geek On's review of Stranger Things. Are we doing the whole season or just all?
Yeah, season four.
All right.
We might talk about some things that happened in the earlier seasons because you just finally got caught up
Yes.
on this years old show.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we figured, they split this season into two volumes, volume one and volume two. Volume two is dropping this weekend. We are so excited for it
Yes.
here at GYGO, but we thought we wanted to talk a little bit about what we loved or maybe didn't love about volume one of season four. So full spoilers. We're going to be talking about everything that's been going on in this season of Stranger Things. So if you're one of those people that was able to wait and you're saying, I'm going to wait until the whole season's out, I'm not going to watch anything,
I don't know
then,
why.
yeah, I don't know why either. But wait, don't listen to our review because you will get things spoiled for you.
Yes, you will.
But come back after you watch it all anyways. Yeah, we're here to talk about Stranger Things. This is a show that I won't say I was in on the ground floor because I think it was a huge phenomenon when it first hit.
Right.
And I had, a bunch of other, family and friends that had watched it and kind of had been telling me to watch it. And I'm always behind on just catching up on new things. Like it's always hard to stay on top of things. And plus like
What happens when you
horror.
have kids?
That's true. Plus horror stuff isn't always my go-to. So I was kind of like,
Right.
nah, we'll see. And then like a few months later, I remember I like turned it on and literally, I think I had, the first episode ended and I like posted out on Facebook, like, so I know I'm late to the party, but Stranger Things is amazing. and like
just
my
a little late.
It's funny because my sister, like 5 hours after that post, had made a comment. She's like, oh, by my calculations, you should be finishing episode 6 now. And I was like, well, I had to take a break to eat dinner, so I'm only finishing episode 5. But I literally was like, I am binging this show. I finished it in like 2 days. I loved that first season. And really, so every season since then, I'm like, I gotta watch it right away. So that's been my journey to Stranger Things. I know for you watched like a single episode around the time it came out?
Yeah, I watched like maybe episode 1, like half of episode 1 or something. And I was like, okay, I'll watch it later. And then life kicks in and it's I got a chat. We have a channel to run, a podcast. We have other shows to review. I think I was starting a new job at that time even. And it's like, so I didn't get to like jump on the bandwagon with everybody else when this one came out. I waited. It was one of those ones I didn't even know if I wanted to see it because I was not sure how I was going to like it even.
Yep.
So I waited. And I think in a week or so, I pretty much got the whole series down in about a week and a half, something like that.
I think you watched all 4 seasons in about a week and a half. Yeah.
Yeah, because basically, I work out in the mornings, so I know I was watching one episode every workout because I go do a treadmill for one full episode until it hit season 4, where it's like an hour and a half or something like that per episode.
Yeah. You're getting a good workout in. They're really trying to help your cardio.
They're like, oh yeah, he wants to do cardio. He'll do cardio today. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna watch I would try my hardest to knock out like 50 minutes at least. Because I was like, I want to try to watch the whole episode. So if they were 50 minutes or less, I would usually hit it, sweating, tired, 2.5 miles later. And I'm like 3 miles. I'm like, I don't even know what's going on.
Yeah. But I think safe to say that we are both fans of the show.
Yes.
And I had to say, let's dive into, season 4. I think, season 1 had been my favorite. I loved season 1. Season 2 and 3 like had moments where I still really enjoyed it. It had some really cool new characters and things like that. But it wasn't as strong for me as the first season. It wasn't as like tight and complete. And I have to say, diving into this season was the most I felt the same way since that first season. Like I was every time an episode ended, I was like, ooh, I got to see what happens next. Like I was so into the show. And that's, I will say that's impressive because there were a couple storylines that I kind of didn't really care about as much. Like they really split the group this time. We've got everything going on in Hawkins. We've got our storyline out in California. We've got our storyline going on in Russia.
Yep.
And the California storyline kind of splits pretty early on into 2 storylines because we follow 11 and then we follow the other group. And I mean, the strength of this season for me was the Hawkins storyline.
Right.
Everything going on in Hawkins with Vecna, and then with like the, you know, our Hellfire Club characters. We've got, you know, our basketball club. We've got, you know, kind of this divide between, you know, Dustin and Lucas, and you know, where they're, you know, Lucas is trying to kind of reinvent his image in high school, you know, not be the nerd that always gets picked on,
Yeah.
you know, kind of thing. And you know, that's causing some strife with his friends. And ultimately, like, I was just so invested in everything going on with Hawkins that even when it took a detour to some of those other storylines that I maybe wasn't as invested in, I still was just like, but I like all of it. But let's get back to Hawkins, get that in my veins.
Right.
Like, this is so good. So yeah, I mean, I really enjoyed this season, and what I told, I think you, and I know I told other people as well, is like, I haven't rewatched the other seasons. I haven't gone back and rewatched them. Watching this season made me really want to, because it felt like there was a lot that was building on what had come before. And it was like, man, I don't remember everything. So I don't know for you, did you get that feeling? Because you did it. You watched it all at the same time.
I always was feeling like there was something more. And I watched another video later on it, and they basically said how Vecna has been there since day one. And I was like, that's what was off, because he talked about a scene in season 1. I can't remember what episode it was, but it made sense, which is where Barbara is in the pool and something comes behind them. And at first it looks like the Demigorgon when he takes the picture, which, like, okay, that makes sense. But when she was in the pool coming out, I was like, was it the Demigorgon that pulled her under, or was it Vecna? Because then Vecna takes her in season 4 to that pool that her body is essentially rotting in. And I was like, it was Vecna. It wasn't a demidog or a Demigorgon. It was him, I think.
Yeah, I'm inclined to agree with you, just because of the way that she was kind of taken was different than we've seen, like, the Demigorgons, because they just kind of are like, we're just gonna kill.
Yeah, they're like dogs. They're just even mindless.
You know, like, we don't really still know exactly how Will ended up in the Upside Down. We know he, you know, made it through one of those portals, but then was able to survive. But yeah, that's kind of an odd, like, if he had come in contact with the Demogorgon, you would have felt like it would have killed him. Like, so it's almost like, is there something else going on? So yeah, I mean, I think it's entirely possible that Vecna has been, you know, is the big bad and has been the big bad for this whole time. Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting theory, and it'll be interesting to see if they confirm that, you know, either in these final 2 episodes of this season, or there is one more confirmed season coming on. You know, we don't know exactly when, but probably within the next year or 2. And so, will they confirm that?
See, my thing is, you know, they've commented before, the Demigorgon and the Demidogs are like foot soldiers. They're mindless. Up and the only time I would say they're not mindless is when we saw the one that Dustin helped raise, essentially. But the rest of them all seemed mindless. They're just mindless killing machines.
Yep.
And they make a comment that's like, the Mind Flayer is, you know, the leader, and, you know, Vecna is like a general. And you know, they made that comment once, and we haven't returned to that. So I'm kind of curious, is Vecna really the Mind Flayer? Like, is he the one that's always been pulling the strings? Or is there like a greater evil that's there waiting, and it is sending people like Vecna, the Demigorgon, send a Demigorgon, it'll take it. Oh wait, they killed him. Okay, Vecna, you really need to step up now, man. Like, come on. And then, you know, Vecna, it's kind of like Thanos. Like, okay, I'm gonna go take care of this myself now. Like, you guys have all failed me, as you're all are terrible. So I'm gonna be curious on that part, because we haven't seen anyone else really do like the mind takeover anymore. So obviously that wasn't Vecna. He's not taking over people's minds and using them as puppets.
Yeah, correct. When he kind of takes over their consciousness, it's, you know, because he's about to kill him. Yeah. And so yeah, I mean, that's
out there.
It's certainly, you know, and we also don't know what the ultimate goal is, because, like, Vecna seems like his goal seems very personal. Like, he wants to get back at 11. We don't know, killing these other teenagers, is that making him stronger? Is that like, we don't know exactly why he's doing those pieces, but I think it's pretty clear that his ultimate goal is that, he hates 11, wants to kill her.
And that makes me wonder, like, is he even working with other people? Or is he just on his own? He's just like, you know what? I'm just doing this because I want to, and I've been slowly doing everything in the background just because it's like I'm trying to build up more power.
Yeah, I'm not sure, but I have to say that this is, the first season where we've had a villain with a face, if you will. Right. We've had, as you mentioned, the Demogorgons or the Mind Flayer, and it's just, been creatures. And to introduce, an actual now, villain who is talking to our, protagonist, he's tormenting our protagonist, doing all those things. And then of course the reveal in episode 7 that this is, one from the lab who, manipulated 11 into basically unlocking his powers. Like that whole sequence I thought was just handled beautifully. I loved it all. There was kind of like that weird button on it where it was like, now we're going to show the tattoo, and I was like, if you didn't get it was one of those things where I was like, if you didn't get that he was Vecna from like the previous thing, like I'm not sure that showing the tattoo is going to hammer it home. Like it feels like you either got it or you didn't.
I will say
so that felt unnecessary. It felt a little bit unnecessary.
It was, because you see him getting blasted with the lightning bolts and he's slowly turning to like Vecna look. You could say, okay, he's going to age and all that while he's been there. But then it's like, you look at the tattoos that like 11 and him have, they're tiny little zeros and ones. And then when he gets this big one, it's like an English lettering and it's huge. And I'm like, that's not how tattoos work. I have a tattoo. I don't think it's going to get bigger and darker as I go lower in layers of skin.
Here's the thing that you need to know, Aaron, is that tattoos are evil, as everyone knows. And so when he's in the upside down, which is an evil place, it's enhanced. And that's why it's...
that makes it switches into a different style and like old English style, and gosh, that makes so much sense now. All
right,
that was
well, let's talk a little bit about the other storylines. We've talked a little bit about Hawkins, but of the other storylines, the one with Joyce and Murray trying to rescue Hopper in Russia, the 11 storyline where she's trying to get her powers back, and then the Mike and Will storyline where they're with Jonathan and Argyle and all that. Which one of those three did you feel like worked the best?
To be honest, and I love and hate it because he is the comic relief really of the show, but Murray. I love Murray.
Murray was great this season.
Stupid, but I love him. I took down this teenager, and then it felt I'm a black belt, and it's like, but that teenager was fast. I could take this guy, and it's like he's prepping himself, and I'm like, are you really like talking yourself up because you beat up a teenager?
His karate stuff was a lot of fun. Him pretending to be the Russian pilot, I thought was a lot of fun. Like I was enjoying all that. I do think that ultimately the storyline was weird. I mean, honestly, it was like, there's so many things that I'm not buying. I did like that the pilot just turned on everybody. He was like, I'm gonna take my money, I'm gonna double my money, I'm gonna triple my money. Like I loved that he was just completely in it for himself and just betrayed everyone. I was like, this totally works for me. But I think everything else, it felt like it was, we need to find a way to get Joyce away from the kids and Hopper back into the story. And so the fact that it just took so long to get, it was like, okay, like I think ultimately it was a little bit tiring of a storyline for me.
Agreed. And it wasn't the best one. It was, like I said, Murray's there for the comic relief of the group. I really wonder if it was one of those ones like Hopper was supposed to die in season 3, like he was, and they were going to release another character. But I wonder if it was one of those, like, we did test runs and all this, and Hopper is actually a favorite character. People like him, so let's keep him around. because it didn't make sense how he lived really when we've seen, the other Russians, no matter what they did, they just died. Oh, it's not like they just jumped out of the way and
Hey,
lived.
American exceptionalism.
Oh
Okay,
my
we are
gosh.
better than the Russians, and that's why we can survive explosions.
Right. Yeah. Perfect. That's exactly it. And then they really don't say how, I don't remember if they say it, how they got the Demogorgon even in there, right?
No, they
it's just
have
like, hey,
not
here's the
explained
Demogorgon.
that. It's just they have one, and we don't know how or where it
Why
came
or anything.
from.
And that's what
Yeah,
I think bothers me. There's too many plot holes in that storyline. Like, come on,
I
like
can see that.
seriously, this is supposed to be a top secret base, and they got in relatively easy. And Murray always happens
Yeah.
to know Russian too. Like, I mean, I
Well, I
guess that
mean
makes
that's been
sense.
established in the previous seasons that like
Oh,
he's
the
been
scientist. That's right. He was talking to the
yeah
scientist in Russian.
because he can like he's this conspiracy theorist and he's
Yeah,
so I didn't
that
have a
makes sense.
problem with
I
that.
forgot about that.
But I did like it is one of those things that there are a lot of things that happen that are just convenient in
Exactly.
order for it to work.
I mean, and
Now,
that's what you have to have with that. Because again, I really
yeah,
wonder if it wasn't supposed to be Hopper and it was supposed to be a different American, like someone else. Because
yeah,
in the end of season 3, it's like the American is all they kept
yeah.
calling him.
I mean, I feel like I think they knew that they wanted to bring back Hopper.
I just, yeah. I mean, I love Hopper. Don't get me wrong. He's one of my favorite characters.
Hopper's great.
So, but
But
yeah,
I wanted
it's
to
weak.
talk about the 11 storyline where she's
Okay.
having to get her powers back by going like into her memory
Mhm.
with our two favorite doctors.
Oh, I love one of them. I love Sam.
Yeah.
I'm still
Yeah.
on Team Sam.
Paul Reiser and Matthew Modine are the two doctors. Of course, we definitely do not like Papa, Dr. Brenner, who's Matthew Modine. Although his techniques are effective,
Right.
as we see, he is able to unlock power in these kids. Now, I'm not condoning that. I think it's terrible. Experimenting on children
Yeah.
is awful, no matter what. But we do see that he is able to help her go through her past, relive some of these things, and that is able to help her unlock those powers. So for me, this was the second best storyline of the season. The Hawkins one was far and away my favorite, but this one, I think I liked that 11 is kind of she's been in this place where she feels like she's nothing without her powers,
Right.
And that's only made worse by Mike, who is the resident dumb teenager of the show. Like he is the worst because it's an accurate representation of teenagers. But the fact that he continually kind of associates her with her powers and like calls her a superpower and like all these things, like a superhero.
Right.
That's how she views herself. She views her value and her worth through her powers. And so kind of like going through this journey of now I'm going to go back and I'm going to get my powers back.
Yeah. What did she say? I'm going to be a superhero again, I think, on the note.
Yeah, which, oh my gosh, that note has just one of the subtlest digs in all of history. Right after their fight about like the fact that he never signs his letters with love, she also doesn't do it. And I was like, way to go, 11. I was like,
11 knows how to bring it.
Stick it to him.
11 knows how to bring it.
But I'm just like, I think that it worked so well. Well, also, we were reminded through like Max's moment when she has to overcome Vecna, and we see some of those moments that she's remembering that are pulling her out of it are moments where her and 11 were just having fun at the mall.
Right.
Like they were just, and like, that's what I want to see 11 get back to is understanding that she's not defined by her powers. She's not, and so I think that she needed to get her powers back in order to have that discovery, in order to achieve that down the road, is say, I am not just my powers, I am more than that. And so yeah, I'm really excited for where that's going.
And I agree. I think she needs to get him back to know that she's more than that. And I think the character of Sam, Paul Reisner's character, I think he's going to have a hand in that too, because he still sees her. I feel like Papa sees her as a weapon still. Like no matter what, that's what he sees her. But Sam is seeing her as a human being, as a child. And maybe he sees her as a weapon, I think, too, but he's given her options. Like, we could just take you home and you don't have to do any of this. Now, was he still manipulating her? Yes, because he never said Papa was there. He never said what there was going on. But I don't think he's completely evil. I don't think
I agree.
I think he wants to help. He really does. And, we saw him do that with Hopper when he created the fake birth certificate. He pulled strings to hide her. I think he sees her as a human being. And I think, like you said,
agree.
it's going to be, I think it's going to be him probably having a conversation with her, or something's going to happen with him and her where we're going to get that moment of, you're more than just a weapon. You are more than what your powers are.
Yeah.
And, I think that's what's going to change it. Now, I'm going to be honest. I'm kind of mad because I really think it's going to be Sam doing it. I want it to be Hopper. I want Hopper to be that character.
Yeah.
We can't connect him right now because he's in Russia.
Honestly, I think that there's going to be several characters that tell her that. And I think it's going to take Mike telling her for it to really cut through, because they've just had this connection from the very first season.
Right.
The two of them, we've seen that connection, and they were really hammering it home in this season how much she views herself through his eyes, and really and really wants to impress him, wants to all of these things. And so I think that he's going to have to grow up. He's going to have to grow beyond the jerk of a teenager that he is. And I think Mike is a great character. I don't like him, which is kind of the point, I think, of like seasons 2 and 3. You're not really supposed to like Mike. He's kind of a jerk.
Right.
And so now we're in this stage, and so I think that whether it be Paul Reiser's character Sam, or whether it be Hopper, or whether it be any other character that's maybe telling her she's not defined by her powers, I think Mike is going to have to be the one to truly convince her of that in a moment where she's probably about to lose the fight.
Exactly.
And really help her, help to convince her of that. And I do think that, we've got our core 5 people, right? We've got Mike, Will, Dustin, Lucas, and Eleven are the 5 kids that we've had the whole time. And of course, we've got, the older siblings, Jonathan and Nancy. We've had Steve in there for all the seasons, Hopper, Joyce, all these other characters. But I think we're losing one of those 5.
Right.
Maybe not in these final 2 episodes, but I think in season 5 for sure. But I think, and I hope it's not going to be Will, just because he's always gotten the short.
I need him to die. I need him to go.
But I don't know what he's offering to the show. Like that's the biggest problem with Will, is like, in the first season, he wasn't there. He wasn't part of the dynamic.
Right.
And so he's spent, 3 seasons now trying to find his place, trying to fit back in with his friends, trying to do these things. And it feels like he's so incapable of doing it. And I just wonder, like, is he gonna be the one that dies? Which to me would feel a little bit like a cop out. Like, I think maybe it should be Mike. Or maybe I hate that I'm about to say this because I think Dustin is my favorite character, but maybe it should be Dustin. I'm
sacrificing Nancy. Get rid of Nancy.
Well, yeah, we might be.
I'm fine with that.
but yeah, I think that we're gonna lose a core member of the 5. So Nancy doesn't count in there. I think we're gonna lose one of those 5 at some point, before the end of this series. So.
I agree. First of all, we can't lose Steve. I love Steve too much. I will be hating everybody if Steve goes. But I agree with you. Will is kind of the weakest link of everybody. We have the least amount as a viewer connection to him. Even in season 4, it's like he's just a background character, and he's just there almost to help push the plots. Where, hey, she was lying to you. Why didn't you tell me that? And Mike's being Mike, being a jerk. I don't see Mike dying, because here's what I'm thinking. The main, of course, this is how it always plays out, I feel like, with these kinds of shows. And of course, being like an 80s themed, it makes sense. It's going to be the whole love conquers all. Vecna is going off pure hatred, how much he hates humans, and humans are disgusting. And he taught her how to use her rage and hatred a little bit. And I think, that's what helped her defeat him the first time. I think she's going to try it again. It's going to fail because he feeds off hate and anger. And I think you're right. I think, Paul Reisner's character, Sam's going to say it. Maybe even Hopper comes around somehow and says you're more than that. It's going to take Mike basically saying, I love you for who you are. Like, it has nothing to do with your powers. Yeah. It's your soul, your heart, your mind. It's everything. And that's when she's going to realize, oh, I love him. So that's what's going to conquer it. And love trumps hate.
And I'm with you in that I would prefer that to be that she loves Hopper and it's the love for her dad that conquers it rather than the love for Mike, who's kind of a tool.
And that's what I want, but I don't think they're going to give us that.
I agree. I think it's going to be, but I could see Mike dying right after that, like, is what I'm saying.
I'd be okay with that, I guess.
And so, we'll see. But as we're going to wrap up this kind of review, we would be remiss if we didn't just talk about some of the new characters. I got to bring up Argyle. Like, I don't really care about that storyline. I'm going to say it. But every time Argyle's on screen, I'm loving him. I love Argyle. He's great. I love his whole sequence, like when they go to Susie's house and he's just immediately smitten with this other girl and is just like siding with her on everything, no matter what.
You see her push her from me. I will push her.
I will. Yeah.
He's just infatuated.
I love Argyle. The whole scene where they're like burying the agent and he's like, like, we got to give him a headstone. This is like,
we put all of our names on this.
Oh my God. It was so great. I love Argyle. I think he's my favorite new character of the season, although Eddie Munson's great too. But I think Argyle is probably my favorite new character of the season. Did you have a favorite new one?
Argyle's my second. I'll say that first. I think he almost made first when they're trying to find him and he smoked out with the emo girl. Where is he? Is your like van all smoky? And they open up like, oh yeah, he hotboxed her. Because they're just chilling in there, and I loved it
for sure.
I honestly, it took me a little while, but I actually like Eddie. I think I love that character because he's so over the top. He's one of those guys. He's already 2 years failed. So he's about 20 or so, 21. No, he's not 21 yet because I don't think he buys beer. He makes a comment about that.
It's probably about 20. Yeah.
So I know it's like, okay, he's kind of like the senior. So it's like, how would you act as literally you're now surrounded by children? You're so much older than like the freshmen now. You're so much older than even your own classmates. So he's a little out there. But I like how he interacts with everybody because he still knows dynamics and how things work. Like when he's selling, weed to the girl, the cheerleader, and she's
Chrissy,
like, "Oh, this." And he was like, "I wouldn't have pictured you doing this," and he's still being over the top, and I like it. And then when we see him in danger, like he even says, he's like, "I didn't realize I was the guy who always runs away," and he makes that comment to, I think it's to Steve. The girls jumped right in and I almost didn't because that's not me. I don't go towards danger. I run from it.
Yeah.
I like that he's getting that self-awareness.
I love that too. And I think what I really appreciate about him as a character as well is just that he, like you can see that he makes specific choices when he's around people. Like he presents an image that is not who he is. It's this is what other people see me as.
Right.
So I'm going to keep that up. I'm going to keep that appearance up. But ultimately, he is very different from that. And I like that we've been able to explore that. We've been able to learn that. Like, I love that scene between him and Steve where he's like, why aren't you a jerk? Like like
that was a good scene.
You're the rich kid, like all these stuff. And yet you're a good guy. Like, why is that? Why did that happen? And I'm just like, because, he's coming at this from a perspective of like, he's been looked down upon probably his whole life. Not only has he been a nerd just like our main characters, but then people see him as the druggie, a troublemaker. He comes from a poor comes from a poor family. Like he's not smart. He's failed out of like he hasn't graduated high school yet. Like all these things and all these labels that have been put on him, and so he's used to being treated as lesser than or any of those things. And so to have him kind of have his own assumptions challenged because he's going to assume that about Chrissy or he's going to assume that about Steve, or those types. And so to have that challenging him, I thought was really clever as well. And yeah, I mean, when it comes to like favorite characters of the show, I mean, you've got a Hopper, you've got a Steve.
I love Hopper.
I love Robin is ultimate. Like, she's only been in 2 seasons of the show, but she's just great, and her dynamic with Steve is great. I thought that she and Nancy had some really good stuff this season as well. So I've really been enjoying her character. But yeah, I mean, Dustin is my ride or die. He's my favorite. He's the MVP of that team. I love Dustin. And Lucas has totally grown on me over these final couple seasons as well. Like, I really have started to enjoy where his storyline is taking him. So yeah, those are some of my favorite characters, and I'm looking forward to seeing what we get in volume 2. What about you? Who are some of your favorite characters? I know you've already mentioned Hopper and Steve.
Yeah, I love Hopper and Steve. Like I said, still Eddie's up there with them. I agree with you. I think my main ride or die, I think at the end of the day, is going to be Dustin. I love that character. I've really grown on him. He's really grown on me. And I think I love the part where I think it's Eddie to Steve, or maybe Steve to Eddie. Like, we really need to like put him in his place kind of thing, because they realize how much of an ass he really is. And then again, I think my favorite line,
he's always right.
He is. I think my favorite line, and I talked to you about it later, because I was trying to figure out, is he doing it to be oblivious, or is he just playing around, where the father of Mike and Nancy, he's like, y'all could go somewhere else and do something else somewhere else. And he's like, yeah, but we like it here. He's like, can I have some of the food? And he's like, yeah, go ahead and have all our food or whatever. Like, I'll just eat us out of house and home. He's like, okay, thanks. And he just keeps going. And I'm like,
I do love
that enough, or did he catch it or not? Because I would love it to be that he didn't catch it. Like, he's just like, he's so smart, he doesn't understand the sarcasm.
I think that there's a possibility there, and there's also just this understanding. I think, like, we've known since season 1, like, the Wheeler house is where they hang out. Yes. That's where they do their D&D in the basement and all that stuff. And so it's like, so he's been, this has been a pseudo father figure to him for 5-6 years already, right, at least. We don't know how long they've been close friends, right? And so I think that there's an element of Mr. Wheeler is clearly joking, but also clearly serious. Like, there's both there. Like, he's not really saying you guys can't hang out here anymore, but he's also saying, like, yeah, it wouldn't be the worst thing if you hung out somewhere else. Exactly. And I think that Dustin probably understands both. Like, he understands that, yes, he's joking, and so I'm going to take it as a joke, but he probably is also smart enough to realize, like, he also kind of means it, but I'm not going to acknowledge that he means it, because then we actually have to confront it, and we'd rather just keep coming back to the Wheeler house.
Exactly. It's like, we'd rather just be here. Can we just be here? Yeah, we're just gonna be here. I agree. And I just like the idea that in my mind, he's just doesn't even notice. I like that idea, because it's one of those, again, he's so smart, he's almost right about everything, that he's just missing these subtleties, and he's just like, right, yeah, whatever, okay. And I'm taking it at face value.
Thanks, Mr. Wheeler.
Yeah, like, I want it to be that. I really do. But like you said on that note, we've been talking for a while on this season, and I can't wait. By the time this video comes out, the volume 2 will be dropping at the end of the week, or at the end of the week. Yep. So definitely check those out. We'll do another review of like our final recap of volume 2, let you know what we think, and maybe, because you said there was a 5th season, maybe where it could end up going. Maybe the end of this one, we'll see the Mind Flayer one more time in full Mind Flayer form or something. Yeah, I don't know. I would love to see a hint at the next villain.
I think we will. They usually end the season with like what could be coming next, or what we can expect. And so, I am anticipating that Vecna will not be fully vanquished at the end of the season. He might be defeated, but I think he'll still be around. I think he'll still be a part of season 5, even if he's maybe not the big bad. But I got to say, the first thing we got to deal with, what's Nancy's favorite song? Does anybody know? Does anybody know what Nancy's favorite song is? Because Vecna got her. Vecna got her right at the end. Oh my gosh. that was such a great moment. I just have to say right before we
Yeah.
sign off, like that was such a great moment, like where you think they're about to escape the upside down, and then like it doesn't work for her, and you realize, oh, Vecna got
He
her.
knows where they're at.
I was like,
Yeah,
oh,
and
that's so good.
that was a good cliffhanger ending for that storyline, and I can't wait to
Yeah,
have all of our people back together and everyone, working with each other again.
let's do it.
So on that note, I'm Aaron, that's Robert, and this is Get Your Geek On. And well, stay geeky and get your geek on, guys.
Bye, guys.